My name is Nancy Shepard, and I'm a financial aid advisor here in the Office of Financial Aid. We are located in Hopewell Hall. We're right next door to the Fees and Deposits office. We will be talking about dropping classes or withdrawing from classes and non-attendance, but also what happens if you drop classes or if you're not attending those classes. We're also going to talk about satisfactory academic progress, types of financial aid, specifically going to go over scholarship information and maybe some scholarship search tips, student loans, and if you have enough financial aid to cover when you go to Columbus campus. We're also going to talk about filing the FAFSA and some financial literacy. So we hope that you find the information interesting and don't hesitate to ask us any questions. Okay, so the first topic that we're going to talk about today is what's dropping or withdrawing from classes and what's non-attendance. And then in addition to that, what happens when you withdraw from a class or drop a class.
All right, so let's talk about dropping, withdrawing, and non-attendance. So dropping is actually where you eliminate or you drop one or some of your classes from your current schedule for the current semester. Withdrawing is actually where you drop all of your courses or eliminate all of them for the current semester. And then there's something called non-attendance. So if you never attend any of your classes or just a class maybe in general, you don't turn in homework or anything like that, that is considered non-attendance and your aid will be reduced. Also, there is something called all failures. So if a student fails all of their courses, they may actually withdraw from a course at the beginning or drop a course at the beginning and get a W for it, but then they end up failing the rest of their courses. That is considered an all failures. So that will reduce your financial aid as well. So dropping a class could cause your financial aid to be reduced, but also it depends on the timing that you drop the course because tuition could be adjusted as well. So usually during the first 3 weeks of the semester is when tuition is adjusted. So the first week is usually 100%, second is 75%, and the third week is 50% for your tuition refund. But that also means that if you are dropping the class, then you're reducing your financial aid because your hours are dropping. So let's say if you were at 12 credit hours, you're considered full-time. You drop one 3 credit hour class, now you're down to 9 credit hours. So now you're considered 3/4 time. So your financial aid then will be adjusted based on 3/4 time. So falling below full-time though could also take away some of all of your aid. So the Presidential Affordability Grant is one, the Guaranteed Assistance Grant, I Know I Can grant. There are some scholarships that you have to be full-time to receive that scholarship. So if you drop below 12 hours, you could lose that. And it could affect your financial aid for the next term as well. Also, it can affect SAP, your satisfactory academic progress, which we will talk about in a little bit as well. Withdrawing though from all of your classes or dropping all of them for that current semester, the Department of Ed feels that you earn 100% of your financial aid if you sit through the class and you complete work through 60% of the semester. So once you are past that 60% point, if something happens and you stop attending classes, you may have actually earned all of your aid at that point. Usually that's pretty close though to when exams are coming up. But if you stop attending before that 60%, the college actually has to do what they call an R2T4 calculation, which is a return to Title IV. So that means the college then has to see how much of the aid you've earned at that point that you stop attending. So then we have to return those funds that you haven't earned back to the Department of Ed, and then you owe OSU that balance. So dropping a class, the best time would be before the semester starts that you would want to drop that class, but the next best time would be within that first week of the semester. You may get into a class that you decide this is definitely not for you, so you may want to drop it. What that means though, it's going to reduce your aid, but it'll affect your tuition because during that first week it's at 100% tuition refund. What happens is if you go into that second week and you decide to drop that class, even though you're within the 75% tuition refund, Now you're going to still owe 25% for that class because now you've taken a spot in that class that someone else can't fill. So the other thing to think about too in terms of dropping a class, especially towards the beginning of the semester, is when you're not receiving a W for the class. So if you don't receive a W, then it doesn't affect your SAP, your satisfactory academic progress.
That was a great explanation. So what's the moral of the story? Definitely check with us first before you drop a class because it does have different effects. And one of the effects is it can count against you for satisfactory academic progress. So what is that? Well, my coworker is going to talk about that and how dropping a class affects your satisfactory academic progress.
What is satisfactory academic progress? Satisfactory academic progress, or SAP, is how we refer to it, are academic requirements that the college must monitor to determine your future eligibility for financial aid. And there are consequences if you don't meet those requirements. Part of those requirements are at the end of every spring semester, you must be maintaining a certain GPA and a certain completion rate. Now, as a new incoming freshman, the GPA you must have at the end of spring semester is a 1.8. If you are a transfer student or a continuing student, the GPA you must have is a 2.0. You also have to have a completion rate of at least 67%, and completion rate is the amount of credit hours you successfully complete and pass compared to how many you attempted in the first place. This is where dropping a course may come into play in regards to completion rate, and that completion rate needs to stay above 67%. Now, if you start in autumn semester, you have 2 semesters to make sure you're meeting these requirements. However, if you start in the spring semester, you only have that spring semester to meet those requirements. There is also a third portion of satisfactory academic progress called maximum time frame, and this is the maximum amount of credit hours that you are allowed to attempt and receive financial aid for your degree program before the Department of Education cuts off your eligibility for financial aid. If you are not meeting those requirements, then you go to suspended status. When you are on a suspended status, you are no longer eligible for any federal student aid, and that includes federal Pell Grant, federal work study, federal SEOG grant, and federal student loans. If you're placed on a suspension, you will want to speak with a financial aid advisor to determine your options. In most cases, students will have to self-pay for their courses until they are meeting those requirements again. If you are a freshman student and you miss the 1.8 GPA, you will be required to then get your GPA above a 2.0 before you become eligible again. SAP also applies to students who are currently not using financial aid. The college is still required to monitor your SAP status, and if for any chance you will in the future decide you would like to utilize financial aid, if you are on a suspended status, you will not be able to do so. Now, students end up in a suspended status if they have had extenuating circumstances outside of school and can document and explain how those circumstances occurred, and now that they are resolved, they can appeal their suspended status. If approved, their financial aid gets reinstated on a probationary status. However, it can be very difficult to get a petition approved, and so it's best to avoid the situation in the first place. So now I'm going to give you some examples of completion rate so that you have a better understanding of how dropping a course can affect you. So Brutus Buckeye was enrolled in autumn classes in 4 classes for 15 credit hours and completed them all successfully. So he has a 100% completion rate. Then in spring semester, Brutus was enrolled in 4 classes for 15 credit hours, but dropped 2 classes totaling 7 credit hours. That made his autumn semester completion rate 100%, but his spring semester completion rate was 8 out of 15. Now his total cumulative completion rate, which is what OSU looks at, would be 23 credit hours passed out of 30. That would make his cumulative completion rate a 76%. As long as Brutus' cumulative GPA is at least a 1.8 at the end of the spring semester, he will stay eligible for financial aid. Now, a second example. Brutus was enrolled autumn semester in 4 classes for 15 credit hours. He had to totally withdraw from the semester due to an accident. In spring semester, Brutus is enrolled in 4 classes for 15 credit hours and completes all of them successfully. His autumn semester completion rate is 0 out of 15, so his completion rate is 0%. His spring semester completion rate is 100% as he completed all 15 credit hours. However, his cumulative completion rate would be 15 out of 30 for a 50% completion rate. Brutus would be placed on suspended status and lose his financial aid even if he's meeting the GPA requirement. However, due to the fact that his first semester withdrawal was due to an accident, that would be considered extenuating circumstances to where Brutus would be able to at least submit an appeal to see if he could get his aid reinstated. And my final example of completion rate. Brutus started at OSU spring semester and was enrolled in 4 classes for 16 credit hours. He drops a 4 credit hour course and fails a 4 credit hour course. That put his completion rate to 8 out of 16 for a 50% completion rate. At the end of spring semester, Brutus would go to suspended status and lose his financial aid for only having a 50% completion rate.
So now what we're going to do, one of my coworkers is going to talk to you about scholarships and some tips on searching for scholarships.
So let's go over some scholarship information. When should you be applying? Right now. Definitely start your scholarship search sooner rather than later. For outside and external scholarship opportunities, you'll want to refer to the website listed on the slide. Also, see the handout for additional scholarship information and tips when you search. A few more tips for you. Apply early and often. Apply for as many scholarships as you're matched with to increase your odds. And stay organized. Know the deadlines. We want to make sure that you're submitting your scholarship application well before it's due. Just in case you need to fix something, you have time. Also, something that you can do is to make a scholarship application schedule so that you don't wait until the last day or the last week that it's due. Find something manageable that works for you, like maybe one night a week or a couple hours every day, just so that you're getting those scholarship applications in. Next, we want you to be aware of scholarship and financial aid scams that are out there. There's tons of them online, and we don't want you to get caught in something like that. So first, you're gonna look for ones that say fees to apply. Maybe they're offering for someone to look for the scholarships for you. You don't have to do that work, but there's a small fee. No matter how reasonable the fee may seem, true scholarships are there for you. They're there to aid you, not the other way around. Legitimate scholarships are never going to guarantee that you've already won. Also be aware of missing eligibility requirements. If you see phrases like, "you're already a winner," legitimate scholarships are never going to just say you've already won something without you putting the effort into it. So there's always going to be some type of eligibility requirement that you have to do on your part. If you see any scholarships that are asking for your personal information, such as a banking account or asking for your social security number, anything like that, definitely don't fill those out. Those are scams. Also, a big one here is missing sponsor information. You might see that the website looks legitimate, the scholarship looks legitimate, however, there's missing sponsor information. So you should be able to see contact information on the website. Look for an About Us section. Make sure this is a real sponsor. Also, you want to check to see that whoever the sponsor is, or whoever the company is, that there's a connection between them. So for example, an engineering firm would be targeting engineering students. If the scholarship opportunity sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So if you are questioning whether or not it's valid, please stop in to see us or give us a call and we'll let you know for sure. Apply for scholarships in different categories. We want you to balance it out, so don't just limit yourself to merit scholarships. There are things like athletic scholarships, community service, and even artistic scholarships out there, so please don't limit yourself. Make sure you include letters of recommendation. Make sure these letters are relevant, and be confident in who is writing the scholarship recommendation letter for you. You can even provide your resume so that that person is up to date on your accomplishments. A few scholarship application things that you don't want to do. Don't discount scholarships with lower award amounts. If your focus is only on those with higher amounts, your competition is going to be greater. If you apply and receive many smaller scholarships, those small amounts are going to add up and they're going to serve the same purpose as one larger. Don't become discouraged if you don't hear right away or if you don't win right away. The more you apply, the better. There are thousands of scholarships out there. Don't give up on applying just because you don't hear something right away. Also, don't avoid scholarships that require an essay. Although they take more time and effort, once you've done a few, the task of writing an essay becomes a lot less daunting. Plus, you can reuse these essays for other scholarships with a little editing.
That's great information about scholarships and tips for scholarship searches. So don't hesitate to start now, start looking now, put it on your calendar to look at when scholarship deadlines are, when scholarship applications are available. Be sure to answer scholarships with essay questions. Don't ignore the small scholarships because they add up and they can round out your financial aid. Okay, so now we're going to talk about student loans. You may not want to take out student loans, you may not need to take them out, and that's great, but some of you might need to take out student loans, whether it's now or down the road. So I wanted to go over a little bit of information about loans, such as the limits of the loans that you can borrow, and then also some specific details about the student loans. So first, as a first-year dependent student, and most of you would be considered dependent students, but the first-year limit or the maximum that you can borrow is $5,500. The second year limit is $6,500, third and fourth years is $7,500. As an independent student, the limits are $95,000, $10,500, and then $12,500. But again, for most of you, you would be considered dependent, so you want to go off of those totals. Now, the total limits that you can borrow over your lifetime for your student loans, for a dependent student, the maximum is $31,000. For an independent student, the maximum is $57,500. Both totals may sound like a lot, but if you are taking out the maximum amount of your student loans each year, that can add up. And also, maybe if you decided to go back for a second degree, or maybe you didn't finish your first degree and you're going back to complete it. If you borrow the maximum amount and you're starting off again, you could hit those limits. I have seen it happen where students have been at their aggregate limit and we cannot offer any additional student loans. So keep that in mind. Keep your loan debt down if you can. If you are borrowing loans, borrow cautiously. Some other information about student loans are that in order to use them, you have to be enrolled a minimum of 6 credit hours. So if you're full-time, great, but you have to be at least 6 hours for the loans to be available. Also, the loans do not go into repayment for you until 6 months after you've graduated, or if you stopped attending school for 6 consecutive months, or if you were enrolled less than 6 credit hours for 6 consecutive months. Also, the interest rate currently for the loans that you're taking out this year is about 5.05%. The loan interest rate may be more next year, it may be less. We don't know. The government establishes that interest rate, but at the moment it's a fairly low interest rate. Also, you have to be meeting your satisfactory academic progress, which we talked about a little bit ago. You have to be eligible for your aid in order to use the federal student loans. Something to keep in mind too is that your loan amounts don't change if you change campus. So if you go from the Newark campus to the Columbus campus, if you have $5,500 for the year, or $65 or $75, whatever your amount is that year, it doesn't change if you go to the Columbus campus. Tuition, however, will increase. So something to keep in mind is, what is your financial aid now at the Newark campus, and is it covering everything, or is it falling a little bit short? When you go to the Columbus campus, if your aid isn't covering right now, it might be even more short at the Columbus campus because tuition is higher and then you have housing costs. So I'll go over a little bit more about that information in just a moment, but just wanted to make sure that you are aware what your loan limits were, and if you are borrowing loans, to be sure to be borrowing cautiously.
Each student is awarded federal student loans, whether they be subsidized loans or unsubsidized loans. The subsidized loan is interest-free the entire time you are in school. The Department of Ed pays that interest on your behalf. The unsubsidized loan is not interest-free. The interest starts accruing on the first disbursement. There are 3 steps that you need to take in order to obtain those student loans. First, you must accept the student loan by clicking on the green box on your award summary tab. You also need to complete the entrance counseling and the master promissory note. Both are found on your to-do list. The entrance counseling teaches you about your rights and responsibilities as a borrower. The master promissory note is a promise to pay the loans back. It's important that you complete all 3 steps in order to get the student loan. Once you know that you need the student loan, it's important to do all 3 steps in a timely manner and not wait until the last minute. You will receive information in the mail from your loan servicer. It is important that you check out their website, you create an account, and you maintain your student loans by going to their website often.
So we talked about the different types of financial aid. You know, you have your grants, you have your scholarships, you have your student loans. What aid do you have? So that's going to be the thing that you want to take a look at, especially when you are transferring over to the Columbus campus. Will you have enough to cover the tuition and fees and housing, etc., over at the Columbus campus? If you were short here at the Newark campus, chances are you might be short at Columbus, so you definitely want to look at other outside scholarship opportunities and things like that, meeting those priority dates for the FAFSA to maximize the type of aid that you could be eligible for through the school. But to give you an idea, tuition right now here at the Newark campus at full-time is about $3,822 per semester. At the Columbus campus, the tuition is a little over $5,300 per semester. Room and board, if you are not living on campus here at Newark, that's great, but would be in the dorm on the Columbus campus. You generally have to live in the dorm unless you live within a certain radius of the campus. So the housing fees would be about a little over $5,200 per semester here at the Newark campus, but at the Columbus campus it's going to be a little over $6,100 per semester. So books and supplies, they're going to be about the same at each campus, around $600, a little over $600 per semester. That's an estimate. If you find them cheaper through Amazon or something like that, that's great. But if you're getting it through the bookstore, plan on about $600 per semester. So your estimated totals with your tuition and books would be roughly about a little over $4,400 here at the Newark campus, whereas at the Columbus campus you have the housing included, and so that could be a little over $12,000 per semester. If you have tuition and housing here at the Newark campus, that could be anywhere from say $8,800 a semester, or for the year it could be a little over $19,000. At the Columbus campus for the year, it could be about $24,000. So what do you have? What aid will you have? What do you have now? You want to maximize the aid that you may be eligible for so that you are covering as much of your expenses as possible and not having to pay out of pocket. So submit that FAFSA by the priority date of February 1st. And then be watching for any notices on verification. If you are selected for verification, you want to turn those documents in as soon as you can, and then watch for the award notification. If you still have a shortfall, or if you have questions on where to look for scholarship opportunities, take a look at the handout, take a look at the websites, the sfa.osu.edu website, and also the newark.osu.edu website. We have some scholarship information there as well. So now I'm going to talk about your FAFSA, and it's time to do your FAFSA again. So you should have aid in place now for autumn semester and the upcoming spring semester. But on October 1st, the 2019-20 FAFSA became available, and you want to do that one. That will continue your aid next summer or next fall if you're taking summer semester off. So again, it became available on October 1st. You want to make sure that you submit your FAFSA by February 1st of 2019. That's the priority filing date. And you want to hit that date because you want to maximize the type of aid and the amount of aid that you might be eligible for. Now, a lot of the scholarships that are available through OSU are tied to the timing of your FAFSA, so you definitely want to hit that priority date. And then also, you want to go out and fill out the application for special scholarships. That is on the Student Financial Aid website that's listed on your screen there. And it also has a priority date of February 1st of 2019, so you want to make sure that you have that on file. You can also take a look at the Newark OSU Financial Aid website, scholarship information. After the first of the year, there are a handful of scholarships that are going to require a separate application, and we will send out an email letting you know when those applications are available. So check that website as well for different Newark campus scholarships. Also, we have some outside scholarship opportunities that may be listed both on the Newark OSU website for financial aid and then also the Student Financial Aid website for OSU overall. So definitely take a look at those. Also, going back to the FAFSA, when you're filling out your 2019-2020 FAFSA, please know that you are going to use your 2017 tax information. I would highly recommend that you use the data retrieval tool if you can, if you filed taxes or if your parents did. If you have any questions at all about filing the FAFSA or if you need any help, definitely feel free to come on over to the financial aid office and we can help you out with that. So that's a lot of great information. So hopefully you found something in there that is helpful to you. But if you do have any questions anytime throughout the academic year, definitely feel free to contact us. You can stop by in person, bring your photo ID when you come. You can email us from your OSU email account, or you can even give us a call. But we are here to help you out, and we look forward to assisting you. Have a great year.